And welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and today and all week long on Connect and Collaborate, we have been talking about tourism and outdoor recreation. So today, I'm very excited to announce that we have with us the director of the Colorado Tourism Office, Cathy Ritter. Cathy was also just named to the Executive Committee of the U.S. Travel Association, which is very exciting. Congratulations, Cathy.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you and welcome. So I am going to just have you give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am a fairly new Coloradan, but I don't want to live anywhere else after being here almost 3 years. I've been in this job since December 2015, and I was very fortunate to be hired into that job because I had actually moved to Colorado looking for a new opportunity, but because I had been the director of the Illinois Bureau of Tourism previously, and because of the actually in many states, the unusual practice here in Colorado of actually conducting a nationwide search for a new Colorado tourism director.
Oh, wow.
I was fortunate to be part of that search and ultimately to be picked. So it's been such a privilege to get to know my new state from this vantage point.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to use my prior tourism experience, I hope, in ways that have been very productive for the Colorado tourism industry as well.
Absolutely. So I gotta ask you, Illinois and Colorado, very different, right? They are both. People don't like to admit that Colorado is a Midwest state, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it in there that it is a Midwest state. More West, but definitely Midwest state. And while Illinois has the lovely city of Chicago, right? You get a lot of tourists there. How does Colorado compare to Illinois as far as what you would promote for each state?
Actually, Alex, you hit on something that I remark upon a lot. I felt instantly comfortable in Colorado, and I had been visiting here for more than 8 years. I had a daughter who moved here in 2008, and that was really the reason my husband and I relocated here, because she has made her life here. We were interested in being closer to family. But I agree with you, there is just a nice Midwestern friendliness to this state in general, but of course it has spectacular scenery to go along with that as well. So how it differs in terms of tourism, Illinois really hung its hat on cultural tourism, and also nightlife with the city of Chicago. But the Abraham Lincoln story obviously is extraordinarily compelling, not just for domestic visitors, but for people across the world. He's one of the best known figures, truly, among any American across the world. And so that, along with the incredible architectural history of Colorado with Chicago, with Frank Lloyd.
Ingrained in Colorado
I'm so
now.
ingrained in Colorado. But the Frank Lloyd Wright architecture story in Chicago, it's being the home of the skyscraper, the place where the revolving door was invented.
What? I don't think I knew that.
And also the start of U.S. Route 66. Actually begins in downtown Chicago and goes all the way to Los Angeles. So Route 66 is also one of those travel experiences that's very compelling, not only to U.S. travelers, but has a real fascination for European travelers in particular. Absolutely. So those were those were really the calling cards for Illinois. Colorado is different in that we have very rich cultural history, obviously, as well. Our Old West history is fascinating for people.
It really is.
The mining years, the stories of the settlement here, the native history.
Yeah.
It holds great fascination for people from around the world. The Chinese traveler is just as interested in that story as the European traveler. So we have all of that. Plus, we have the, really compelling features of our just stunning outdoors. And I say that a lot of people's thoughts immediately go to the mountains when we talk about the outdoors. But I have been all over this state now, and I have found scenes of just incredible beauty, no matter where I've been. And in fact, in our upcoming campaign, which I'll be very happy to talk about, we're featuring more than 20 locations around Colorado, including scenes from our plains and scenes from our western slopes, our cities, cultural experiences. So we're giving a real sampler of what Colorado is all about in this new campaign.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. One of the things that I didn't know about, so I will admit I'm not a native, which is the majority of us now, right? I am originally from Kentucky, beautiful green rolling hills. It's gorgeous out there, right? And I went to school in Indiana as well. And so, I got that Midwest vibe too. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I didn't realize that Colorado had were the sand dunes. Mm-hmm. That to me was fascinating. I never knew about that. Any comments on the sand dunes and the tourists out there?
I agree with you. I had no idea before I moved to this state that it had the tallest sand dunes in North America. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was living and working on the shores of Lake Michigan. There are dunes on Lake Michigan, so I was very familiar with those, obviously. But what an incredible, I mean, this is one of those things that I lift up as an example of the just, completely unexpected experiences you can have in Colorado. You can go sandboarding in the Great Sand Dunes National Park. Another thing that I think is not well known outside of Colorado are our natural hot springs.
Yes.
And that is something that is well known by Coloradans and enjoyed. In fact, I was just in the newly remodeled Ouray Hot Springs pool earlier this week. It was unbelievable. They have rebuilt this beautiful facility on the same footprint as the old one, but they've introduced all kinds of modern new features to it. So there's LED lighting.
Oh, wow.
That just sort of makes everyone look a little ghostly as you're in the hot springs pool. But here it was probably in the 30s, and there were several people out in that pool until 9 o'clock at night on a weeknight, just enjoying the fact that they have these natural hot springs right in their backyard.
Absolutely. We did yesterday, we had on Vicki Nash, who from the Collaboration and Industry Awards, as you nominated them for the Colorado Historic Hot Springs Loop that they created, which to me was absolutely fascinating. And if you do not know about that, please visit colorado.com. Look up the hot springs. You can get that roadmap. It's about 720 miles. So take a week off. Explore Colorado and all the hot springs that we have to offer. But Cathy, I would like to ask you, tell us about some of the current events that we have going on throughout Colorado.
Well, one of the big events that's coming up this summer is the Colorado Classic, and it's coming back. It was a brand new event last year, but it's coming back in an even newer and improved form this year. But it really signals the return of pro cycling to Colorado, and they're really working on coming up with a very innovative format that will make this race sustainable for years to come. So this year's route, oh wait, maybe I'm giving away too much. Maybe that hasn't all been announced.
No.
So perhaps I should just backpedal a bit.
All right.
But it's going to be happening again in mid-August. They will once again have the fair.
Okay.
At the race hub in Denver. It's actually located in Rhino, and it's called Velarama, and they'll be, in fact, I believe they did announce the talent for this year's lineup. But they will be bringing in men and women pro cyclists, but also giving regular cyclists an opportunity to participate this time around. I believe there's even a family ride.
Oh,
so, that is a real signature event for Colorado, along with Pedal the Plains and Ride the Rockies. We have such a rich cycling story to share in Colorado. We're also getting Slow Food Nations back this summer.
Ooh.
That was Denver was picked last year in a pretty stiff competition that included bids from both coasts. But Denver was picked to house this event that is actually extremely well known in Europe. The slow food movement is really around restoring authenticity to food ingredients and food preparation, and sort of using those time-honored ways of preparing food as opposed to taking those shortcuts that sometimes result in over-processed food or food that's just not as tasty. But there are a lot of sustainability practices embedded in this food culture as well that are embraced by many of our food producers in Colorado and many of our restaurateurs. So it's a great, this event, which takes place in the middle of July, is another great fit with the story that we've been creating around the superior food scene we have here in Colorado that was underscored by our being featured in the most recent season of Top Chef.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and the Colorado is the #1 place for startups. That includes restaurants. And it is such a hard industry to get in when you're starting up, is the restaurant business. But I think we have enough diverse culture here to appreciate those food movements that we've got going on, right?
I think that's true. And one of the things I can share from our experience with Top Chef is that the producers who, and this was season 15, and they've worked with food cultures around the country, they were so blown away by the collaboration that they saw among the chefs in the Colorado food scene. That the chefs were really working to, even though they were competing, obviously, for the success of their own restaurants, they were all very invested in elevating the food culture in the state as a whole. And they said that is not something we've seen in other food destinations.
That warms my heart. I have not watched Top Chef, I will admit, but that makes me happy. And it's one thing that we see on this show constantly is the effort of collaboration, right? We had the Collaboration in Industry Awards. Our show's called Connect and Collaborate, right? And Colorado as a whole embodies collaboration throughout the state, throughout the country. And, our top trading partners are even Canada and Mexico. #1 trading city for both countries is Denver, right?
Well, we in tourism love the collaboration word too, and I often describe our Colorado tourism industry as a collaboration because the Colorado Tourism Office is really in some ways the convener of a huge statewide collaboration, but we work very closely together to elevate Colorado as a superlative destination for travelers, not just from the United States, but from across the globe.
Yeah.
And everybody's a part of that story. And you had the good fortune yesterday of speaking with Vicki Nash, and that's one of the collaborations that I hold up again and again, because this was a situation where they took these 5 towns took an asset that has been in existence for millions of years? I don't know how long have the hot springs been around.
Yes.
But they saw the potential, partly because of what they heard at our annual Governor's Tourism Conference, that every time we put something about hot springs out on social, it would just explode.
Yeah.
And so they looked at that and said, you know what, there's a real opportunity here. And they created a new product that has been attracting travelers and attention from major media outlets. Without investing a whole lot of money. We call it using mental mortar instead of bricks and mortar.
Oh, I love that. Mental mortar. I love it. Well, yeah, because it's you take something that's been around for ages, as you said, making that new and exciting for people this day and age, especially where, we're instant gratification these days. With technology, we have everything right at our fingertips. And so to take something that old and make it fresh and new and exciting for people is awesome. But yeah, she told us that she was just featured. They were featured in an international magazine. They're getting featured on several. National Geographic has come out. It's very exciting.
There was a cover call out on National Geographic Traveler. And the way I usually explain that is the advertising in National Geographic Traveler is beyond our budget.
Yeah.
We can't even buy an ad inside. Or we don't choose to spend that kind of money to buy an ad inside.
That's fair.
But they had a call out on the cover of that magazine.
Yeah.
Yes, which goes to a highly targeted audience of travelers. Another example of collaboration that I think holds so much potential, and again, it wasn't investing into bricks and mortar, again, it was mental mortar, is our Colorado Field Guide. And that is an online collection of 3, 5, or 7-day trip itineraries throughout Colorado. So again, we've taken what we have and we're serving it up to visitors in new and exciting and easy to access ways to drive travel to every corner of our state. And so we are about to introduce the new collection of itineraries for this summer. We're actually going to be announcing that April 1st. It's already out there. You can take a look at it. Go to colorado.com and click on Colorado Field Guide. But you will find this collection of itineraries that not only give you great suggestions and ideas about things to do in specific destinations, but where to eat and where to stay. Yeah. And so if you're a busy, Mom.
Yeah.
Or if you're busy at work and you just don't have time to plan that vacation, or suddenly, or you just need to take a vacation, sign on to the field guide. We've redesigned the whole thing. If you looked at it last year, take a look at it again this year.
Perfect.
We've made it much easier to access and to print out, and now you can share it socially. So if you find a trip you really like, just share it with your friend or share it with your family and say, hey, let's go to Durango this weekend, and here's how we can do it.
I absolutely adore that. I do have to tell you, I was looking at Colorado.com before you got here today for a little bit of research, but I ended up finding myself planning a vacation for myself.
Oh, that's exactly what we hope people will do.
Yeah, and one of the things that I did, so I had this weekend off, which is a rarity for me. I have another part-time job that I do, and so I was like, you know what? I really don't know what's going on in Denver this weekend. I have it off. I'm going to take myself on a date. So I looked it up, and the Degas is on display at the Degas. There's several Degas paintings, but the exhibit is at the Denver Art Museum this weekend. It's on until mid-May, I believe.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and so if you're out and about and you want to do something and run into me, hit up that Degas Degas exhibit. And so there's one of the things that I also found on the website was camping tips. Right? And so these camping tips are nice for not only out-of-towners outside of the state, but novices as well, right? Any of those camping tips you want to share with us? Or
Oh, I'd be hard-pressed. But one of the things that we really are expanding our messaging around is how to take part in activities like camping and not impact our natural resources in Colorado. So we've partnered with Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics, which is headquartered in Boulder, but counts among its strategic partners virtually every major outdoor retailer in the U.S., including North Face, Patagonia, Smartwool, and on down the line. And they joined with us last fall in having Colorado as their first state strategic partner. So we have been working since then on messaging, on creating partnerships with the Colorado Hotel and Lodging Association. Those discussions are underway. But basically, we're focused on developing messaging for travelers about how to camp, for instance, without leaving impacts. So there are tips on, for instance, when you build a fire, how to make certain that it's really out before you go to bed, never leave a fire untended, how to make certain that you're always at least 200 feet when you pitch a tent from a water resource so that you're not accidentally and unintentionally contaminating a water resource. What we believe to be true, excuse me, is that most people want to do the right thing, but when people come to our state, maybe they're not used to being in the outdoors, and they just don't know the right way to conduct themselves in the outdoors. So we're very focused on providing that education.
Absolutely. One of the things that I always was told, if you pack it in, you pack it out, right?
So true.
Don't leave anything behind. Take it all with you. Take a little garbage bag with you because you're going to dispose of your MREs out there. So make sure that you take that trash out with you. We want to keep it well for everyone. But you did mention this Leave No Trace. On Monday on our show, we had OIA, Sustainability Working Group, the Outdoor Industry Association, and their goal is to make sure that every outdoor product that you have, from backpacks to the clothing that you wear, your shoes, they make sure that the entire process from idea to finished product is sustainable and using green resources, right? Green ecosystem to get everything to you. Just a few minutes here left in this segment, Cathy. Would you like to tell us your favorite part about your job?
Oh, my favorite part. There's so many favorite parts, but I suppose one is just meeting the people around Colorado and meeting our Colorado tourism partners. There is such a passion for among our tourism partners, there is such a passion for introducing their parts of the state to a larger audience, and doing it in a way that is sustainable, but also using tourism is one of those ways to really elevate the economy of our state, whether that's in Denver or whether it's in Paonia or La Junta, Colorado. Tourism really is one of those ways that can just inject life into an economy so rapidly. But the people that I have met in this job are so dedicated, and many of them pour so much energy into making these visions come true, and into creating jobs, to creating new experiences, to creating new ways for people, to travel in their parts of the state and gain an appreciation for something they didn't know about before. And I am just always so thrilled when I hear these stories about successes that they've had. And when they hear from someone who has been traveling here from Australia, they stop into their visitor center, and then a week later, the same couple came back and told the people at the visitor center, "You told us about so many things to do right here. We never even went to the rest of Colorado because we just wanted to experience what you have here. So thank you very much for inspiring us so much." So those kinds of stories just make me obviously so happy for those partners that their efforts have paid off. But it also is inspirational just about how powerful those kinds of testimonials and that kind of information can be for people who are seeking experiences, because we have so much to offer here.
We really do. And I do want to ask you, so again, you were named to Executive Committee of the U.S. Travel Association. Tell me about that. Obviously, your biggest thrill is tourism, right? You've got a passion there. What was this like for you?
Well, I actually sat in on my first executive committee meeting last week when the U.S. Travel Association's Board of Directors meeting was scheduled, so we met beforehand. It is really, I think I'm proud on behalf of Colorado to be able to represent my state. It really does give us a ringside seat into really what is one of the 20 most influential lobbying organizations in the nation's capital, from what we are told. They're carrying such important messages to members of Congress, to the administration, to the U.S. Department of Commerce, to the U.S. Department of Transportation, about the very real opportunities and challenges, that exist for the travel industry in general. There are a number of concerning issues around transportation and air travel, but more importantly, I think for us in Colorado and the western states, there's a real opportunity to advocate for our national parks. There's an $11 billion shortfall in the funding for repairing our infrastructure and just giving there's a backlog that hasn't been addressed for so many years. And our national parks are one of our greatest treasures nationally, but especially for our western states.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have Cathy Ritter here with us. She is the director of the Colorado Tourism Office. She was also named to Executive Committee of the U.S. Travel Association, which she just told us about. We've mentioned a few other shows in this episode, so if you have a chance to check out cobrt.com/radio, check out Vicki Nash's interview with us that she was on yesterday, and also please check out our interview with Beth Jensen and Jesse Curry from OIA Sustainability Working Group. Also, go ahead in this 5-minute break here that we're going to take and check out Colorado.com. Go ahead, plan a trip for yourself, plan a trip for your friends, plan a trip for your family. We will be back on Connect and Collaborate. And be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube page, as well as Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Just look for the Colorado Business Roundtable and Colorado.com or Colorado Tourism. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Connect and Collaborate. I am Alex Hopkins today, and all week we have been talking tourism. We started out Monday talking with OIA, that's Outdoor Industry Association, their sustainability working group, ensuring that the outdoor clothing and gear that you have is sustainable from idea to finished product. They're making sure that all of the products used are safe and green for you. Yesterday, we had the chance to talk with Vicki Nash, who was also the winner of our Collaboration in Industry Awards last December for tourism. and she was nominated and won for the Colorado Historic Hot Springs Loop. And the reason that she was even invited and nominated is because of Cathy Ritter, who is our guest today with the Colorado Tourism Office. She is the director of the Colorado Tourism Office and recently named to Executive Committee of the U.S. Travel Association. So welcome, Cathy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Alex.
Yes. So we took off in the last segment. We were talking about one of the many things that we got to on our list was international visitors to Colorado. You mentioned the Australian couple who came to see all of Colorado but got stuck in one place because there was so much to do, right?
That's right. We hope they come back.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about the international visitors. We're seeing a rise, are we not?
We are. We have seen a steady growth in Colorado of international visitors since about 2010. Last year we had almost 1 million. It was just shy of a million
Yay.
International visitors. However, one of the things I heard last week at our U.S. Travel Association board meeting was that even though international travel is up about 2% in the United States, it's actually up about 6% in the rest of the world.
Wow.
And so that means we're losing some market share.
Yeah.
So that is, something that our U.S. Travel Association is paying a lot of attention to, because obviously we want to make certain that we are getting our share of international travelers, because those are what we call, they are the highest value traveler that we attract to our state, because international visitors tend to come, stay a long time, and spend a lot of money while they're here.
Absolutely.
So we want more of them. At any rate, we've been doing a lot of research into our international traveler, and the traveler from the United Kingdom forms the largest population of international travelers from overseas, but our second largest population of travelers is actually from Australia. And this is... and
that's Colorado specific.
In Colorado specifically.
Interesting.
And so our industry is known for many years that Australians love to come to Colorado to ski. But what we've just recently learned from our research is that anywhere from 60 to 80% of Australian travelers actually travel in the summer.
Wow.
And we've known that anecdotally, but now we know that we have a real opportunity to attract more Aussies and Kiwis from New Zealand as well. And so we are dedicating some new effort to that. But we have also seen a steep increase in the number of Chinese travelers who are coming to our country and to Colorado and specifically.
Huh.
So back in 2007, we had a handful of Chinese travelers. By 2019, they will be our third largest group of overseas travelers. By 2022, they're on track to become our second largest.
Wow. That's
group
exciting.
Of overseas travelers. So there's a real opportunity in the Pacific Rim, really, for attracting, and in Asia, for attracting new travelers to Colorado. So one of our biggest opportunities, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this today, Alex, is that Denver and Colorado, for the first time since 1991, is getting the opportunity to host the IPW Trade Show, which is the major U.S. international trade show hosted every year by the U.S. Travel Association. This will be bringing travel professionals, including tour operators and international media, from 70 different countries to Denver and Colorado between May 19th and 23rd.
Wow.
So this is our opportunity for the first time in 27 years to truly showcase Denver and Colorado as international destinations for this group of travel professionals from across the globe. This is not just a conference. Sometimes people hear trade show and they think, oh, this is a conference. This is an actual trade show where business transactions occur. Last year, there was more than $4.7 billion worth of business transacted during this show when it was held in Washington, D.C. last year.
Oh, wow.
So we're probably on track to do that a lot. The registration for this particular trade show is setting new records on some fronts.
Yeah.
Because it's been such a long time since the show has been in Denver, and because Denver is a very different city today than it was back in 1991. There is such pent-up interest in exploring this part of the country and finding out more about Denver and Colorado that the registration has really been very, very exciting for the U.S. Travel Association, too. So one of the things the Colorado Tourism Office is doing to support this is working very closely with Visit Denver to develop what we call familiarization trips following the trade show, taking these tour professionals to every corner of our state. So when we posted these 7 post-fam trips online, they were completely filled in 41 hours.
Wow.
Which set a new record.
I would imagine.
Oftentimes it takes weeks for these trips to, 2 or 3 weeks for the trips to fill up, but they filled up almost instantly. And so one example is we're going to be taking a group mainly of German and Chinese tour operators and media to visit the southwestern corner of our state. So they'll see Black Canyon of the Gunnison.
Oh, yeah.
They'll experience the Ute Museum and the Museum of Western History in Montrose. They'll spend some time in Ouray. That's why I was in Ouray earlier this week. I was scouting that trip. And they'll also spend some time in Telluride. And so they'll have a chance to ride the gondola and get more insight into the Telluride ski opportunities and out in the incredible summer lineup that Telluride has put together as well.
One of my favorite things that I've ever done here was the Blues and Brews Festival that's in Telluride in September every year, I want to say. Maybe August. But yes, the Blues and Brews, highly recommend it.
Yes, I've heard I've never been, but I've heard wonderful things about it as well.
You've got to go.
So anyway, we're very excited about having IPW here in just a couple of months. But the real benefit for that show will be unfolding over the next 3 years. Based on U.S. Travel Association's research, on average, a destination for IPW experiences 1 million new international travelers in the succeeding 3 years, who will spend an estimated $1.1 billion in new international travel spending.
That is amazing.
So there should be some just incredible economic benefit for this part of our country from hosting this show.
Yeah, which we need.
We can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons, in my opinion, I would say that has people wanting to visit Colorado and Denver is because of marijuana, right? It's definitely a different one, and obviously we have several other states that have made recreational marijuana legalized, right? We've got Washington, Oregon, I believe California finally passed, Arizona's up there, but do you want to mention anything about the marijuana tours or,
Sure. Yeah, I'm asked this question quite frequently.
I'm sure
as
you
might
are.
But people are often surprised to realize or to understand that while there is a portion of travelers who travel here specifically for marijuana tourism, it's still a fairly small percentage. We've been monitoring this since 2014, and it's been anywhere from about 3% to 7% of travelers who say that one of their primary reasons for taking a trip to Colorado is to experience legal marijuana. So it's still a small number. I think the bigger benefit for Colorado has really been around the perception of our state as a place that is tolerant and non-judgmental, and really, really open to honoring what, the way that people choose to recreate.
Right.
And so I think that is a benefit that pays off in many ways to really enhance the reputation of our state. But yes, it's interesting because it is still, we are kind of an island in a number of states where marijuana is not legal. It's actually not legal in Arizona.
It's not? Okay.
No, it's legal on the coasts. Washington, Oregon, and California all have legal marijuana.
Yeah.
Canada is making cannabis legal as of July 1st.
Okay.
And then the East Coast has a number of states that also have made cannabis legal.
Yeah.
But because it is still not recognized by the federal government as a legal substance, we have to be very careful. All the states do have to be very careful about the way they communicate around the availability of legal marijuana in their states. So the Colorado Tourism Office, because most of our messaging is directed across state lines, to
Yeah.
out-of-state travelers. We have chosen not to put ourselves in a potential,
Right.
federal violation by advertising the availability of marijuana across state lines. So we do not talk about cannabis availability in our state visitor guide or on our website. There is a great resource that is managed by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Education
Yeah.
around, it's called goodtoknow.com, goodtoknowcolorado.com. And so that has resources for travelers about just explaining that Colorado jurisdictions were all given the freedom,
Yeah.
to set their own rules around cannabis consumption. So, sometimes travelers are surprised to come here and learn that they can't sit on their hotel balcony
Yeah.
and imbibe.
I know. Yes. We actually did a week focus on marijuana, and that is also on our radio page if you want to check out Marijuana Week. We learned a lot of interesting things, exactly where that money goes and things like that. But I did not know that you could not advertise, because you do push your advertisements to visit Colorado across state lines.
Correct.
That is interesting to know. Obviously, that word got out immediately, made national coverage. And I always joke that people come to Colorado for the pot and then got so high they couldn't leave. And that's why we've had an influx. But in all honesty, we're definitely different, right? You have that connotation of somebody who's high and can't get off the couch. But Coloradans love their outdoors. We love our recreation.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And I should have mentioned, even though we have this, percentage of people who may come here specifically for cannabis consumption, the main reasons that people come to our state really have not changed. So the number one reason that people come to our state in the summer is for scenic drives. Hiking and backpacking.
Yeah.
Experiencing our state and national parks, experience an historical site. Those are really the big four.
Yeah.
And those haven't changed. In winter, again, probably 50% of our travelers, not probably, we've documented it, a little more than 50% of our travelers come here specifically for skiing or snowboarding. But then there are so many other things that people can do in our state over the winter.
Yeah.
So those things also have their own followings. I always smile when I see, the cannabis consumption numbers, because they are much lower than the incidence of people who go to craft breweries. About 22% of our travelers go to a craft brewery while they're here.
Well, of course, you've got to. We have over 300.
Exactly.
In Colorado, yeah. So while we're mentioning it, let's talk a little bit about the region travel, right? Colorado has so much to offer. Let's touch on that.
Yes, one of the ways that we really wanted to elevate the understanding of consumers about what there is to do in every corner of our state was to work with our tourism partners, again, in this statewide collaboration, to develop new travel regions and naming to help increase awareness of what might be in that region.
Yeah.
So we had, Colorado was divided up into 7 travel regions back in the 1990s. But one of the things that I heard frequently upon taking this job was that those travel regions really didn't serve as very functional frameworks for promotion or identification. And the fact that they had names like Southwest, and South Central, and Northwest wasn't very helpful, because even people in Colorado would be hard-pressed to tell you what's in South Central.
Yeah.
And
not a clue.
No, and it's not inspirational. The geographic naming is not terribly inspirational for people.
Yeah.
So that was something that we heard very often as we were developing our new statewide strategic plan for the Colorado tourism industry, which we've called the Colorado Tourism Roadmap. And we actually set out last fall, first by forming a regional branding task force, and then putting out an RFP to help us find a marketing or branding agency who could help us solve this problem. We ended up getting almost 50 responses to our RFP.
Wow.
And from an enormous range of companies. So we really had the opportunity to pick the cream of the crop. And then we ended up with, our final discussions were with 3 Colorado agencies and 3 from other parts of the country and the world. And we ended up hiring a company called Destination Think, who is actually based out of Vancouver but has offices in Sydney, Australia, Amsterdam, and Phoenix. And they have just brought such an interesting perspective to the problem that we're trying to solve. They've done, because we were really looking for a consumer-based approach. We didn't just really want to sit down and draw lines on a map. We wanted to make certain that we were drawing those lines in the right places. So they've come back to us now based on a lot of consumer research. They've come back to us with recommendations for 9 travel regions. We're taking that proposal at the end of this month, actually at the end of April, we'll be taking that proposal to a series of 20 workshops around the state, where we will be, these are invitation-only workshops, but we'll be including not only tourism stakeholders, but historians, artists, librarians, journalists, teachers, people who have special insight into what makes these regions tick. And we'll be validating these boundaries, and we'll be asking, are these the right boundaries, the way they were drawn?
Yeah. And
we'll also be getting to those larger, deeper questions of what is it that makes this region of Colorado so unique? What happens here, or what are the ingredients that just really create a unique quality that you can't find anywhere else in the world? Because that's what we want to get down to. They call it place DNA.
Yeah.
We want to identify the place DNA of each one of these regions. And we're also going to be exploring during these workshops perhaps more compelling names for some of these regions. Well, not perhaps, more compelling names than South Central. And so, some will probably be fairly logical and natural. For instance, South Central, which I've been kind of joking about, actually includes Pikes Peak.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. So if you were saying the Pikes Peak region, of course, that instantly conjures up an image
Colorado
in your
Springs
mind.
and Garden of the Gods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what's there.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we're aiming for, is that kind of naming that's going to, generate an, oh, yeah, or, that sounds interesting. I want to find out more.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're after. And I think this will form not only an opportunity for us to inspire travelers, but if we do this right, according to Destination Think, and they've been doing this, they're really a place branding agency, and they've been doing this in places all over the world. The place DNA that we identify should resonate not only with travelers, but with residents.
Absolutely.
And with business. And we hope that these will become, we'll be creating naming that will create a rallying cry for other collaboration and other development, and perhaps even become a focus for further development of that destination's products and appeal for travelers in the future.
Absolutely. Well, and I personally hope that South Central goes with Pikes Peak, right? That's every time I get to Starbucks, they offer Pikes Place coffee, and I immediately say, Pikes Peak coffee, please. And they always look at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Seattle, that's what I know here in Colorado. And one of the things that we did mention on our break was this destination development. So tell me about that.
That is a new direction that our Colorado Tourism Office has been taking, really, again, as a result of the planning that we were doing around our statewide strategic plan. And the traditional role of a tourism marketing entity like the Colorado Tourism Office has really been promotion. But through this roadmap process, we identified other areas where we can display some leadership. And one of them is around helping provide resources to our tourism partners to create new reasons for people to visit our state.
Yeah.
And earlier I made a reference to using mental mortar as opposed to bricks and mortar. We don't really have a lot of financial resources in the Colorado Tourism Office and, in our state in general to dedicate toward construction of major new attractions. But we do have a lot of know-how and a lot of ingenuity. And so that is really one of the ways that we are trying to help focus attention and inspire action by our tourism partners by giving them training and just the kind of support they might need to be able to develop a business plan or a marketing plan or bring their ideas, their visions to life in interesting ways. So we have just announced the creation of something that we call CRAFT for short. It's the Colorado Rural Academy for Tourism. Craft
Yeah.
has, we have two major programs under Craft, the Craft Studio 101 and the Craft Studio 201. And these are 8 to 14 week programs where 101 is really aimed at those destinations that are really just kind of at the beginning of trying to figure out how to position themselves as a tourism destination. And they're really just trying to pull together the pieces to put a business plan together, to put a plan together and learn more about how they can more effectively grow in their tourism economy. The first two participants in Craft 101 are Trinidad and Orfano County, so that they are just beginning their journey, where we have a call out now for participants in Craft 201. Those are for more developed destinations that want to notch up their tourism experiences with some expert help. We also have a series of workshops around heritage and cultural tourism, outdoor adventure, culinary, and cycling tourism that again are available to communities and various parts of our state through an application process. We'll be picking 2 for each of those categories. And then finally, we're developing a whole collection of online resources that will be available to all of our tourism partners.
That is lovely. You know, it's you've said you've only been here for 3 years, but you've really turned Colorado into a wonderful destination. You've got all these projects going on in and around Colorado, and I absolutely adore that. One of those programs that you've got is this tourism leadership program.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Alex.
You're
I
welcome.
love to talk about our tourism leadership. We call it the Colorado Tourism Leadership Journey, because if you've studied leadership at all, you know that it's not like you become a leader. You're constantly working on being a leader.
Right.
So it's a journey. And so, you know, that was something we wanted to communicate from the get-go. But this is really an opportunity, as we framed it, to build the Colorado tourism industry's bench strength by developing new leaders. There's a whole generation of leaders in our state who've been around for quite some time. They know they're getting ready to retire, and they're concerned about who's going to fill those shoes in the future.
Yeah.
This was a concern, again, we heard as we were putting our strategic plan together. So this we have created, and we're the first state to do so, we've created a year-long leadership program. We created an advisory group last year who helped us shape the program. We have our first class of participants who started their experience at the Colorado Governor's Tourism Conference last October in Grand Junction. They're about to have their third experiential learning opportunity in Salida, Buena Vista in a couple of weeks, and they have another one scheduled upcoming in Denver, and then they'll finish their year-long experience at the Colorado Governor's Tourism Conference in Vail in late October. So along the way, they will have done readings. They've been paired with mentors. They meet in small groups. We also ask them to do an action learning project in consultation with their employer. One of the things that is really important to this program is that the participants work very closely with their employer in creating something that will be of value to the person who's sponsoring them. It's tuition only, $2,500 a year, or $2,500 per participant, and we have representatives from ski, casino, hotel, the National Park Service, not-for-profits like YMCA of the Rockies, even Expedia.
That is absolutely wonderful. Cathy, this has been a great conversation. You've really rounded out our tourism focus this week. I really appreciate you coming on and joining us. We will see you probably in the future. We're going to talk more tourism later in the year. Thank you so much for joining me on Connect and Collaborate. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube page and visit us at cobrt.com and visit Cathy at colorado.com. Have a great day.
Thank you.